Hi there, it's Rob here from the gym team. Hope you're well. Welcome to this restorative stretch session. Okay, so what we're looking at here is a lot of people come to me, they've got back problems, they've got hamstring problems, they've got calf problems, ankle problems, plantar fasciitis, all sorts of issues. Okay, so this class for me is all about trying to get the major joints of our body working. And that for me is about what's happening in the pelvis and then what's happening within the hip, how that connects into the pelvis as well. And for me, those are really, really essential. Now, this class is a slow class. It's a lot of long stretches. If you've not drank a lot of water during the day, I highly recommend that you drink quite a bit now and have a good sit, lick around your lips and hydrate. So cheers. Okay, so we're going to be looking at can we extend our hip flexors, which are these muscles here which bring our knee up to our chest. So we flex the hip. Now, during this training session, take some time for you, close the doors, put some light music on, enjoy the training session as much as you possibly can. If at any point you're feeling any aggravation, of course, take it easier or relax out of the muscle stretch. But this is all designed to work muscle dexterity and flexibility. For this, I'd also recommend you take the shoes and socks off, so you're on barefoot. Let's go through these exercises. So we've got our feet a fist gap apart. We want our second toes to be nice and parallel to each other. We're now going to try and move ourselves out of our atypical Western world kind of anterior pelvic tilt, i.e. our bum is stuck back. So I want you to think that your pelvis has got to come forward here. Now, as you do that, you might find that your femurs, your thighs, laterally rotate into the position here. And that's because the gluteal muscles are pulling to pull you straight, and they will laterally rotate the thighs. So that's absolutely normal. So let's stand, but you're going to try and get your pelvis lifted here. Now, as you push your pelvis forward, two things will happen naturally. One is that you'll get knee extension, and the other one is you'll get thoracic extension as well. So how your spine is responding. From here, we're just going to stretch and reach up overhead, leaning up and back slightly. Anatomically, our thumbs are going to be faced behind us as we lengthen up through here. Now, as we've got into this position here, we're stretched and we're leaning back just a touch and then reaching high. This isn't a hyperextension back. This is just launching ourselves up and back just slightly. Now, as we do this, we can raise onto the balls of our feet. And we can slowly come back down. Allow your arms to drop down by your side, shake it out. Reflect on what just happened. We pelvis forward, we lifted, we stretched. We come up on the ball of our feet. And as we get onto the ball of our feet, I want you to close your eyes if you can. And if you can't, because you got off balance, open your eyes again. Come back down and relax. Shake out your pelvis, stretch and reach again. Now, as you come up onto the ball of your feet, you want to feel equal pressure from the big toe to the little toe. Shake it out again. Roll the pelvis. Your hips moving side to side. Let's go again. Lift. Retract the shoulder blades. Pull up high. Slowly lower back. Wipe it away. Hips drive. Last one here. Pelvis drive forward. Abdominals engage. Lift. Reach this time. Thumbs facing back. You've got to try and imagine there's a straight line roughly running from your ear through your shoulder, through your hips. Your calves are probably screaming at you now. Let the arms come wide into a T position and hold. Your palms are facing up. Your thumbs are facing back behind you. And your quads are probably singing at you, your front of your thighs. And slowly releasing. Shake it out. From here, we're going to take our feet just wider than our hips. From here, the natural gait would be for your feet to turn out. But I want you to turn your feet to square. hands on top of your thighs. We're going to hinge from the hips, sticking our bottom back, checking our toe alignments, feeling from our big toe to our little toes flat down to the floor. I want you to feel a lovely big deep stretch all the way through the back of the legs. From here, you should feel from your big toe to your little toe square flat down to the floor. And from here, you can bring your hands further down, perhaps to your shins. If you've got a great range of flexibility and you can tuck your chin down on your chest and allow the crown of your head to go down to the floor, to do so. And then slowly letting yourself lift back up to standing. We're going to take the feet wider again. This time we're going to allow a slight version on both feet, perhaps toes turning out to a 45-degree angle. Again, we place our hands on our thighs, keeping the legs straight and the knees extended. You should feel a lovely big extension all the way through the back of the legs. We should feel from our big toe to our little toes flat to the floor and the toes to the heels grounded. We're going to bring our hands to our shins. We close our eyes, dropping our chin down further onto our chest, feeling the extension through the back of the legs. If you can't feel the back of the legs, the hamstrings are stretching, then encourage your knees to extend further. Feel the weight evenly distributed through your feet. Allow your buttocks to go slightly further behind you, which will cause your pelvis to move further posteriorly from the body. So it's going to get further behind you. The net result of that is you're going to feel the lengthening of those hamstring muscles. And from here, we're going to allow our arms to fold, the elbows flop down to the ground. We're going to unfold, and if you can, I want you to turn your feet now so that they're parallel. From here, you're going to feel a stretch more on the inner hamstring muscles. So the semitendinosus membranosus, you're going to feel a bit more lengthening. From here, you're going to bring your hands again to the outside of the shins. And the crown of the head drops and flops down to the floor. From here, we're going to slowly, foot by foot, walk ourselves back through into standing and take a butt kick through. From here, we're going to use a mat on the floor, unless you've got a nice carpeted floor. If you struggle with knee problems, grab a cushion or a pillow to place underneath the knee. From here, you're going to come into a kneeling lunge position here. Now, the feet need to stay fist gap or hip gap apart. So if you were standing, your fist gap would be the gap between your knees and your feet. So imagine that those two railway tracks are running between your front foot and your back foot. Two nice parallel feet, fist gap apart, tram lines. As we drive the pelvis forward, we lift our chest, we can immediately feel the hip flexors stretching. If you have a greater range of movement here, you'll be able to take a longer stride. But as you do this, the torso must stay perpendicular to the floor. So your chest is lifted. The second complaint I see on this is that people drop their chin. I want you to lift the chin. Imagine there's an orange underneath your chin and your chest. That's going to allow you to stay in a nice position here that's roughly equal. So we've got a lovely extension through the front of the thigh, and the hamstrings underneath of the lead leg are slightly engaged. Now, the third thing I want you to concentrate is this back foot. The toes need to be turned so that equally distributed from the big toe to the little toe, the knuckles are down to the ground. The hips are lifted and driven forward. I want you to now clench your glutes. And as you do it, allow your torso to lift up to the ceiling. From here, you can stride the front leg forward slightly further. The knee must stay behind the front of the toes here. So here, you can see my knee is way back beyond the toes. Lift your torso, feel the extension. Slowly release out of this and change legs. From here, the right leg comes forward. I just want you to oscillate the hip. So you're going to turn that leg laterally immediately here. The back toes, again, flat down to the floor, the stride through here. Again, we're going to tighten the glutes, we're going to drive the pelvis forward, we're going to lift the torso. Now, the stride important. Could you take that front foot forward slightly further? How long is the stride pattern here? So whatever your sport, if it's swimming, running, cycling or whatever, the stride pattern is really important, and the power and the strength you have in this position here is critical. Again, we're going to tighten the glutes, we're going to lift the torso, and we're going to make sure that the back foot from the toes to the heel, the little toe to the big toe are flat down and square. Tighten the glutes as much as you can. Hold that kneeling hip flexor stretch. If you can take the foot forward by wiggling the front foot forward slightly whilst maintaining that perpendicular spine position, then go for it now. From here, we're going to slowly wiggle back out of that stride. Roll the pelvis when we've got both knees back on the floor. Again, assess. If it's too aggravating on your knees, grab some pillows to stick underneath. We're going to change back to the original lunge position. This time we're going to take, I've got my left knee forward, I'm going to take my right hand over that left knee. Now I'm going to concentrate on driving the back foot down into the ground. This is really important. Push those knuckles down into the ground, and you'll feel that hip flexor stretch really come into it. We're going to turn and turn and turn, so we're looking over our left shoulder. Again, I've got my left knee forward, my right leg back, my right knuckles ground to the floor, and my torso turned with my chin looking over the left shoulder. Should feel a big stretch, and the more you press those knuckles to the ground, the more you're going to feel activate in your hip flexors and probably the adductors and glutes as well at the same time. It's a brilliant stretch. Slowly come out of that stretch and stride and swap it over. As you bring that leg forward, I guarantee you'll probably have swung it round because it will have got tight. Again, we're going to drive forward on the pelvis. We're going to lift our torso, keeping it perpendicular to the floor. We're going to focus on the back foot, driven down to the ground. Drive those knuckles into the ground and feel what happens in the rear leg. From here, the left hand comes over the top of the right thigh as we look over the right shoulder. Once I've got that into position, I'm now thinking of tightening the glutes, lifting the torso. I'm now going to drive those knuckles as hard as I can into the ground. On this side, I notice that my big toe drives further into the ground than my little toe. In other words, it's creating a greater range of what's called supination. So I'm now going to concentrate on tucking that little toe down into it. I don't want as much supination into my stride because I know from a running perspective that reduces my leg stride. If we take the front foot forward even further, we drive the pelvis forward again, we tighten the glutes, you'll probably feel everything that's going on in those hip flexors. Again, I concentrate on the little toe, getting down to the ground. I'm rotating that foot as hard as I can. Now I'm pushing and driving those knuckles into the ground as solidly as I can. It's a really deep stretch. As I come out of this, we take a deep breath in, we relax, and we're going to turn and lay down onto the floor. We're now going to go into a recumbent stretch. So we're laying back down onto the ground. We're going to wiggle our pelvis down so the lower back's engaged. I'm going to take both legs out to straight and then lift my right leg so my heel's in towards my bottom. The right knee is up to the ceiling. The left leg is going to come up and around, and it's going to lay so that the ankle bone is over the top of the right thigh. The malleoli, the bumpy bit on the side of your ankle, is a good gauge. Should be roughly in the belly of the thigh. From here, I'm going to take my left hand, place it inside the left thigh, push that knee away. Now, once I've got that into a position that feels good, I'm now going to try and pull that knee back into my hand. As I do this, I squeeze my shoulder blades back and down into the ground, forcing my lower back into the ground as well. Feel a lovely big extension through the adductor at the same time. I'm just going to close the eyes, take a slow deep breath in for 4. Slowly breathing out for 4 as well. From here, I place both hands underneath the right thigh. I'm going to clasp my fingers together. Stick my lower back down to the ground and pull that knee in towards my chest. Feel a lovely deep stretch all the way through the outside of the left glutes. Again, we squeeze the bottom down to the ground, engaging the lower back, the head resting on the ground at all times. Should feel like a nice deep stretch all the way through the glutes and into the outside of the hip. From here, we unclasp and we stretch out both legs. Take a moment to relax and just roll your pelvis and roll your hips. From here, we're going to lay on the back again. We point both toes away and we take the left heel up to our bottom. The left knee goes up to the ceiling. And again, we're going to take the right leg and we'll place it over the top of the left thigh. The bumpy bit, that malleoli, is going to go just into the belly of that muscle. Then we're going to take the right hand into the inside of the right thigh. As we drive the hips down to the floor, we take the head back to the ground, and we push that thigh away. Again, this time, try and squeeze your shoulder blades down into the ground. Push the knee away from you as far as you can. Keep the lower back engaged to the ground. From here, releasing, taking both hands and clasping underneath the thigh. Again, sticking your lower back down into the ground for a lovely deep stretch on the outside for the right glutes. Hamstring gets a little bit of extension here. We give a little wiggle through the back. Feel up nice, lengthening. And if you're particularly tight in your hamstrings, like I am, then you'll feel this in the back of the right leg. Again, we're going to try now and try and squeeze our shoulder blades down towards the ground. The lower back gets a little squeeze in there as well. And from there we release. Relaxing both legs, roll yourself back up through to standing for our final little stretch, where we're just going to take our feet fist gap apart, toes facing forward, bow and hinge, and feel a nice stretch through the back of the legs. Really lovely workout. It's a great change in the way that the pelvis moves, the hamstrings move, the hip flexors, the quads, and the adductors and abductors. So everything just has had a little bit of smarting there, which is really important. Circle the arms up wide, stretch, and slowly drop back down. Cross over, stretch, and release, and relax. Well done, really well trained. It's a great session. You might find, like I am, that you're a bit dry in your lips at the end of that, a little bit dehydrated. So well done, that's the same for you as well. Make sure you drink plenty of fluid at the end of this training session. And as always, if I can help, please do get in contact. Well done, well trained. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time for the next one. Cheers. Oh, water on, hydrate. Well done, team. Good work. Thank you, Rob.